Hello everybody and welcome back to the channel. Welcome to another episode of the Pimax Super. Now, there have been a lot of questions and a lot of comments regarding this particular device, one of them being how expensive it is, and we're going to be talking about that, but I'm also going to be telling you guys about my last couple of days with this. We're going to be talking about everything from the use of DLSS, the use of smart smoothing, the use of the device on apps that don't necessarily support VR, for example, like American Truck Simulator. I'll elaborate on that. Yes, I know it supports it. We'll talk more about what I mean. And some tips and tricks with it, and then some other performance issues that some others are having that are not going so great that I think that I might be able to help with based on my hardware. So we're going to go through the top and bottom over the last 3 days. I haven't done a video in 3 days, and this is why I've been putting this thing through the paces. So hopefully you guys can make some better decisions when we're talking about an $1,800 headset. So stick around. If you are interested in any of my tutorial guides for Microsoft Flight Simulator, or simply interested in supporting the channel, consider joining me on Patreon. Patreon subscribers level tier 2 and above have access to all of my guides, as well as any future guides that come down the road. Patreon link can be found in the description below. Okay, so let's get right into it. As I was discussing, I just realized I have a settings panel open. There's been a lot of comments, especially in regard to the price. The camera's sort of tilted. What's going on here? Okay, in regard to the price. So let's address the price first, because I think that's a big kicker. And that will help sort of segue into why I'm supportive of it. So yes, $1,800 for VR, and let's just call it what it is. It's $1,800 and more like $1,900 probably after taxes and by the time it arrives at your door. I mean, they have free shipping, I think, just about everywhere, but you get what I'm getting at. So yes, that's a lot. But I do want to say that from the consumer market, all right, now you can go up to Varo and, you know, things like that, and you'll get significantly more expensive, all the way up to $3,000, $4,000, and $5,000, depending on the VR headset. But from the general consumer market, in my personal humble opinion, the Pimax Crystal Super is the most advanced and the best VR headset on the market for what it does. With that being said, we're going to talk about the features that make it that expensive, and we're going to talk about the alternative, obviously, in my opinion, being the Crystal Lite. We're also going to talk about some different finance options and give you a better understanding of how they work. Okay, so let's break down why it's worth it. Getting into the features and everything that I've dove into over the last couple days. Let's start with the eye tracking. Eye tracking is huge. Okay, it is huge in VR because it gives you the dynamic foveated rendering. Now, your application also has to support that, but yes and no. The dynamic foveated rendering allows you to basically, without moving your head, if you are looking down to see your gauges, looking to the left, maybe looking up at a mirror in American Truck Simulator, whatever it may be, sort of just glancing out to your side mirrors, it tracks your eye movement and moves the high clarity spot in your VR lens to where your eyes are looking. Okay, so that's the dynamic foveated rendering. Okay, and that gives you the ability to simply use your eyes, and no matter where you look, for the most part, it's pretty flawless. It really is. I was really impressed on how much better it was from its initial implementation when I first tried it back on the original Crystal. Remember, the Crystal Lite doesn't have eye tracking. So starting there, that is a big kicker. It's really nice in things like American Truck Simulator for looking down at your gauges, you know, maybe just checking your speed, whatever it may be. Very nice when you're looking down at the dash cluster. Looking off to your side mirrors for a second, especially the left mirror, you know, before changing lanes or something like that. And we're going to talk about American Truck Simulator very specifically at the end of the video if you guys are interested in that, because I've seen some videos about negative performance with it at full resolution. I might have some tips and tricks to help you with that, so stay tuned for that if you're interested. So, and then obviously in Microsoft Flight Simulator or any other flight simulator, you know, it's absolutely just astounding being able to look over at your GNS 530 or your avionics, whatever they may be, your altimeters and things like that, and not have to worry about doing this. The thing about VR is when you're doing this constantly to maintain a visual clarity of no matter what you're looking at, it does become tiresome on the neck. And anyone who's like me, I mean, I've been in VR since the original Oculus CV1. Okay, I know I don't do as much VR content as a lot of others do, but I've been in it and owned it for a long time, since it's about its inception, just around. Okay. Inception to the general market, if you will. I guess I should be more specific on that. It's been around for quite a long time. Wow, that was weird. Not sure what happened with the camera there. Anyway, so keeping that in mind, I've seen the growth. I've been through all the pains, everything from the old lagging like hell, stuttering, struggling to hit that 45 frames per second, to dealing with the screen door effect that was so brutal back in the day, to coming up now. Okay. So the eye tracking is huge. It really takes a lot of strain off of your neck, and makes it much more of a natural experience to be in VR. And that in itself, to me, is worth a lot of money. It really is. Okay? So that's first. Next, the comfort. It is significantly lighter than even the Crystal Light. It is a lot lighter with a higher resolution on the lenses and a much deeper and more vibrant coloring to it. Which is interesting because I'm pretty sure the Crystal Light is also QLED, but I tried them both yesterday. I was swapping between both of them yesterday. And the Crystal Super had a significantly better color. I don't know what it was, but it was clear. And I even had some of the people, one of my kids try it on, and they said the same thing. Like, yeah, there's definitely a difference in the coloring. It looks clearer, and probably a lot of that is just the resolution talking. Maybe, I don't know, but the coloring was better. The speakers, same DMAS speakers that you pretty much get with the Crystal Light. So the sound is neither here nor there. Even with the microphones, neither here nor there to me. When it comes to VR, I think whether you're on the Crystal Light or probably even the Oculus, I have the Quest 2. I don't have the 3, but I have the 2. I think they're pretty negligible differences when it comes to the microphones, in my personal opinion. And as a content creator, the microphone is the more important part for me. So we're going to scratch the microphones and the speakers off the equation, because to me, they're the same thing. And for the DMAS speakers, they are the same on the Crystal Light. Okay, so, you can get them with all the way back to the OG. I think they're the same speakers all the way back to the 8KX. Don't quote me. That was a thing. Now, setup and growing pains. I really didn't have any this time, and I was very, very glad to see that. I had one issue in my previous video where the only thing that I will say is if you are on a version of the Pimax Play that is like I think I was 1.32 or 1.32.x, and you go to hit the check for update button in order to update it to the, what are we on now? 1.39, I think it is. Let's see here. Settings. Yeah, 1.39. You need to go to the website and download the software. And I personally didn't see anything that said specifically if you are on this version, it will not automatically update to the latest version. So I don't know if that was an issue with me. My hat is screwed up. I'm just a mess today. Jeez. But that's okay. That's really been the only hiccup that I've had specifically with the device or the software. Now, the pains of VR will always be the same, I think, no matter what simulator you go through or game. There's always going to be tweaking involved, with the one exception. I will say, rocking the RTX 4080 on the 7900 X3D with 64, or not 64, yes, I am 64 gigs of RAM of DDR5 6000. It is G.Skill, in case anyone's wondering. I don't really think that matters. And I don't know what my caching speed is on it, so don't ask. Anyway, I can run this headset with 0 changes. When you guys saw my initial video a couple days ago with the Pimax Crystal Super, I had changed nothing. I didn't even have the eye tracking configured for the dynamic foveated rendering. So I want to make that very clear. I literally unboxed it. I mean, everything you guys saw in the video is what I did. That was it. I touched nothing. Okay, I set my IPD, which let's talk about that too. Because of the eye tracking, you can get an automatic IPD configuration. For those of you who don't know what it is, IPD is your interpupillary distance. It's the distance between your pupils, okay, from here to here. And the reason why that's critical is it keeps the focal point and your high clarity points in the center of your eyes, right? You want your pupil focus to be, you know, where that is, and so you want that measurement. I will also give you another tip. I do recommend, if you are someone who wears glasses and already has an optometrist, call them and ask them. They should be able to tell you what your IPD is for the exact number, and I do recommend hard putting that number and then using the automatic IPD tracking. Now, the automatic IPD gets you close. I think for me, it's about 1 millimeter to 1.5 millimeters off when I did it. I am a solid 65 millimeters, and the IPD tracking got me 67, no, it was 66.7 or something like that. It wasn't bad at all, but it was close and it was very clear. Okay. So, that's another great feature. So we have the incredibly better lenses, and I, again, don't know why other than the resolution, but a much higher resolution. You have the IPD tracking. Okay, so it sets the IPD, takes a step out for you, definitely gets you close enough where if you didn't know what your exact IPD was, you probably wouldn't care or notice a difference. You have the fact that it's a lot lighter. Did I say that already? Anyway, I don't remember. And you have of course, all the other benefits that come with the Pimax, such as smart smoothing, which we'll get to that in a minute when we talk about DLSS versus not. But it made massive improvements. The other thing is, people are saying that they can't use the Crystal Super at native resolution in multiple games. So now let's get into that part. It is not, I guess that's just not true for me. And I want to emphasize something that I am always pushing, though. I want to make a kicker here. First thing, someone had asked me, it'd been nice to see some actual comparable data, referencing what the FPS is and things like that. Good or bad, you guys can take this or leave it. And I know this is subjective at this point. I don't chase FPS. I have mentioned this multiple times. I do not chase FPS. When people say, if you don't keep your FPS high enough, it'll make you sick, it'll be a horrible experience. No, that's not true. If it gets too low, you'll know it because it'll make you sick. If it gets too low, you'll know it because it will stutter and you'll turn your head and it won't be fun for you. You will know if your FPS is not high enough for you to enjoy the experience. Now, I will never argue that the higher the FPS, the better. I will never dispute that. That is 100% true, will always be true. The more FPS, the faster frame rate, the more smooth of an experience it's going to be no matter what you're doing. Okay, so I'm not disputing that. I'm simply stating that I don't chase it. I chase the experience. I tune to my experience. Okay, it was almost 3 hours of me tuning American Truck Simulator to get it to work the way that I was happy with. Okay, but according, for example, the FPS counter, I was hitting the 45. Actually, technically, this is a 72. You can run at 72 or 90 hertz. I had it set to 72 because I'm on the 4080. I knew that 90 hertz was probably a stretch. Okay, and by the way, I'm going to do a whole separate video on how to get it to work nicely with American Truck Simulator because there are a few steps involved. But I chase the experience, and what I can tell you is that in Microsoft Flight Simulator 2024, now, all things being fair, I was in a Cessna 172 steam gauge aircraft. I was in an analog gauge aircraft, so no glass cockpit. I had the GNS 530 was as glass cockpit as it got in that previous video. But it was extremely smooth. It was extremely smooth. Like I can't stress it enough. DLSS was being used. Now, DLSS is huge. Frame Gen is huge. Those are major kickers, but these are things that I also do want to be pointing out because I think they play a critical role in whether or not you should purchase the Super. The fact that those items are available make the Super a much more reasonable purchase for many who, prior to those things being available, it wouldn't have been worth it. It would have just, you would have gotten so angry and had to reduce the resolution so much that it would have been a buyer's remorse situation. Okay, so there's that. Now, talking outside of DLSS, for example, again, American Truck Simulator, not going to go into details, but here's the thing. American Truck Simulator. It took me some tuning. I had to play around with some things. The one thing that I will tell you guys is I want you guys, people are going to freak out. I can't wait to hear the comments on this one, but here we go. Most people will recommend that American Truck Simulator, you do 200% scaling. My personal opinion is that is unnecessary and very minimal difference. You get very minimal gain, at least in VR, at 200% scaling in comparison to the hardware and performance requirement to maintain that in virtual reality. What I challenge you to do, if you are an American Truck Simulator driver, here's what I challenge you to do. If you have whether it be the Crystal Lite, the Crystal Super, the OG Crystal, do a recording like this or take screenshots from your VR headset at 200% scaling, 100% scaling, and 75% scaling. Whoa, 75% scaling. This guy's nuts. He's an idiot. No, that's going to look like garbage. Show me pictures, because I did that. I took screenshots. I have a super ultra wide monitor here, 49-inch monitor, and I put 1, 2, and 3. The differences were negligible between 75 and 200%, specifically in VR, not on the monitor. If you say, well, no, on 2D, yes, 2D, you will notice the difference. I'm saying do it in VR. Just trust me and be patient. Okay, give it a shot. 75% scaling, try it. And tell me that you notice an absolutely game-breaking, horrible, ugly decision, and I might call you a liar. Kidding, won't call you a liar. But again, that's a subjective piece of information. But what I will tell you for American Truck Simulator real quick as a tip, you will gain a crap ton of frames. It is butter smooth in VR at 75% scaling. And this is especially, last tip, I promise I'll get off of ATS. Last tip is the thing that I want you guys to understand is what scaling does. It takes that image, brings it up. So for example, at 200%, you are multiplying the resolution twice. Okay, you are taking it from what it natively is and doubling it, right? That counts for your modded trucks too. For a default truck inside of ATS, that's fine. Keep in mind things like Pizter, John Ruda, blah, blah, blah. You know, any of those guys. Keep in mind those trucks are already 4K. They're 4K. The environment is not. And scaling does not just scale the outside world, it scales the entire image. So you're taking an already 4K truck, for those of you who want 200%, and now making it 8K. If you go any higher than that to like 300 or 400%, you're doing 12K, 16K for just in the truck. That's why it struggles. Okay. Now, like I said, default truck, and I will tell you that I have mine running at 100% scaling in the Super RTX 4080, and it's working great. It has a little stutters on occasion. Again, this is in the Pizter truck, but it's working great. Take it or leave it. The other thing that I will tell you, and this is going to be very subjective, again, well, not subjective. I should say results may vary, and I'm going to show you something in NVIDIA control panel. Let me get my window capture. NVIDIA control panel. Bring it up. Okay. Holy crap. In the NVIDIA control panel, something I do recommend you guys trying. Okay, it depends. But is taking this OpenGL and changing it to the DXGI swap. It changes the way that the API communicates with virtual reality in this particular scenario. Okay, in this scenario, this is what we're referencing. We're talking about now. This could affect anything. This will affect anything and everything if you set it to global. I set this as a program setting for American Truck Simulator and notice a massive improvement. When I say massive, I'm talking if I were to estimate, and no, again, sorry, I don't chase FPS, but I would guess anywhere from 10 to 20 frames. Like it was a very noticeable difference. You may experience some screen tearing or flashing in the headset in the menus, but me personally, once I was in the truck, I noticed none of it. No screen tearing, no jumping, no weird artifacting, nothing. It was beautiful. So I want to throw that out there. Okay. Give that a shot. And you can do this with anything. Again, I just realized it's not showing it. There. Nope. Jerk. There. Are you going to knock it off? There we go. Preferred layered on DXGI swap chain. Again, if you do this globally, things that will be faster, for example, even just in general use, will be like alt tabbing between screens, pop-up menus, things like that. They will be faster. If you set it as a program setting, alt tabbing in and out of that programming will be faster, more responsive, but it also will clean up or make the response time between PC and or I should say GPU and end user experience quite a bit faster and smoother too, but you may get some side effects, okay? If you guys want some more information on it, feel free to Google it or just do like I do because I'm one of those try it or die it. Just try it. If you don't like it and you know it's bad behavior, switch it back to auto. Auto is the default, okay? I noticed a major improvement in American Truck Simulator. It was very significant. It was very noticeable, okay? No, I do not want to save those changes. So that's for that. Finally, the big roundup here is let's talk about your pricing options. So coming from the configuration side, I've had to do very, very little. Oh wait, there was one more. We want to talk about smart smoothing. Smart smoothing is basically Pimax's form of frame generation. Okay, it interpolates the images that are on screen and takes that image and creates an artificial image to help fill in the gap and smooth it out. When it first launched in the Pimax OG, in the original Crystal, okay, for me personally, Pimax, I love you, but it was garbage. For me personally, it did not work well, and I'm sure you guys know that. Everybody knows that. But it has grown just like everything else. It has matured. They have kept working on it. The algorithm has changed, and it works pretty damn well. That's another lifesaver that saved me even more overhead in, yes, American Truck Simulator. And the reason why I'm specifying American Truck Simulator is it does not natively support VR yet. It is a beta and has been a beta for a while where it will support OpenVR, Oculus, or OpenXR. And it's definitely gotten better, but I would not call it a released or official support yet. As, for example, Microsoft Flight Simulator or DCS World, where they absolutely 100%, yes, this is supported, this is worked on, this is agreed that this is the expectation that you should have in virtual reality in these sims. ATS doesn't really give you that. They say, here's this option, you can play with it, hope it works. We're kind of working on it here, and they have been. And we're kind of working on it here, but yeah, we're not going to call this a release or official, thing, right? So it's a beta. So that's why I said not officially supported. So, but for example, smart smoothing or DCS World and Microsoft Flight Simulator, I didn't need smart smoothing. I did use DLSS in both MSFS and DCS World, just because if I can get the overhead and I don't notice the artifacting, I'm going to use it. Like that. That's more option for me to crank up other settings that may have been sacrificed previously. In 2024, I used DLSS and I had the damn thing set at Ultra. I think I turned a couple of things down, but it was minor. No, it was a high preset. Sorry. I put it on high end in 2024. But honestly, I mean, I expressed in that last video, if you guys want to go watch that, how amazing that experience was. It was truly one of the, if not the smoothest experience of virtual reality that I've had, and the best looking by far. I mean, it was the best looking bar none. Again, I had to change nothing. This thing, by the way, is now set to its high preset, high quality in Pimax Play. So I told you guys that day we left it default out of the box, which I believe the default was set to medium as far as its render quality. I now have it set to high, and I'm not having any issues. So again, the most complex aircraft, by the way, that I've been through for you Microsoft Flight Simulator viewers, the most complex aircraft that I've been through is the TBM 850, but flew it flawlessly. Okay. So anyway, now let's get into your pricing options. First off, I do not want to take this video. Let's turn this on. The sun went down. I don't want to take this video and completely smash away the Crystal or the Crystal Light. The Crystal Light is a fantastic alternative if you don't want to spend that kind of money. It's a little less than half the price. Works significantly well. It's a bit heavier. It's larger in the lens. It's a big, and watch that last video I did. It's just my previous video if you go to my channel. It's bigger, it's heavier, it's wider, okay? But still an absolutely amazing piece of VR equipment. And then you have the purchase options. With the people are calling it a subscription. I've seen so many comments where people are like, I'm not subscribing. Like, I don't know where you guys are getting subscription from. You have the option with the Pimax, any of the Pimax devices, but the Pimax Crystal Super specifically, to pay $800 up front. They will ship it to you. If you decide to keep it longer than 2 weeks, then it's I think it's like $49 a month after that, with no interest until it's paid off. Okay? That's it. That's not a subscription. Just for anyone who's calling it that. I don't know where subscription comes into play there. That's not a subscription. It's no different than buying a car. It's you pay this much each month after your down payment, and then it's yours. Okay? Anyway, that's just to address anyone who's calling it that, because that's just asinine to me. People are so quick. Some people are so quick to jump on this whole subscription bandwagon where things aren't subscriptions. Then, on the side note to that, if you pay the $800 and they ship it out to you, and you decide, no, this isn't for me, I'm not having fun, it's being already too much of a pain, you send it back to them within the 14-day period, and you get full money back, no questions asked. Okay? So, there's that. So, again, coming back to, finally, $1,800 headset, is it worth it? My answer is 100% yes. And I want to remind everyone that, yes, I'm a Pimax fanboy. I say it in every one of my Pimax videos. But I became a Pimax fanboy from their original release. I purchased with my own money every single release they had up until the Crystal. The 8KX was the last one that I bought with my own money. After that, my channel had grown. Pimax reached out. They were willing to work with me, and they sent me the Crystal. And then I've had the Crystal Light, and now the Crystal Super provided to me by Pimax. So yes, it has been provided to me. But guys, if you go back and you watch my initial video on the Crystal Light, my first video on the Light was pretty harsh, because the Light came out and it was pretty rough ride. The Crystal, I struggled a lot with it. If you watch my first videos with the Crystal, they weren't so great. Okay, so I don't have a problem calling it out as I see it. I never do. Like, I will say it as is. I am someone who does not come up from a lot of money. I am someone who has to bust my butt for every dime. I have basically 3 jobs. You know, I get it. I'm right here with you. I'm not rolling in the dough saying, just go out and buy it. No, absolutely not. Think about it. Do your research. Hopefully videos like mine help you, where you're getting a true, honest experience. And by the way, that's also why I don't chase FPS. Because I also feel like, though high FPS is a great thing, sure, again, not disputing that, higher FPS is always better. I will never dispute that. It shouldn't be a determination of whether or not you enjoy the experience, though. Do you enjoy what you're seeing? That's my thing. It does not matter what X YouTuber says or X person over here says, oh, if you're not getting 90 frames per second, you're just going to have a horrible experience. That's not true, at least not for me. And you may be like me. You may be someone who goes, no, this is, my thing is, if I turn my head and it's smooth, if I get this crap, okay, I'm going to reduce my settings until that goes away. Okay, that's it. I don't want that junk any more than anyone else. But the thing about the stuttering is, I've seen the stuttering, especially micro stutters in VR, when, according to what you're seeing on the FPS display, you're hitting your FPS targets, if not higher than. So my thing is that FPS isn't the only thing that can cause those things to happen. And that's why I don't chase it. The algorithms are much more powerful than they used to be. Things like DLSS, especially with DLSS 4, which, by the way, guys, I have... there is a way to, sorry, I'm doing it again, put DLSS 4 into American Truck Simulator, and it does make a massive difference. We'll be talking about that too. So even if you guys aren't big into ATS, or maybe you're thinking about it, stay tuned for that video. I will be posting it on this channel. Hopefully it doesn't crush the YouTube algorithm and make all my videos go to crap, but we'll see. Anyways, I hope this video has been helpful. I hope I've given you some things to think about. Again, all of my stats are down below. Purchase options are down below. If you guys, there are links where you guys can save an extra 10% by using my link down in the description below. You guys can save a little bit of money there. It'll help. It helps you out. It helps me out. You know, so make sure you use the link if you're going to go for it. They're just my raw experiences. I will say that this has been the best release, in my personal opinion, that Pimax has done. I have said it once, I've said it 1,000 times by now. Pimax does have a history of releasing things too soon. They do have a history, in my opinion, of releasing things that probably shouldn't have been released yet. And I don't feel like that's the case with this one. All in all, it has been fantastic. The only known bug that I'm aware of that I have seen and been a part of now is that right now there is a bug with the software where the DMOS headsets are playing at 16-bit instead of 24-bit, so they're quieter than they should be. That's it. I personally, I have surround sound hooked up in that thing. You know, there are 4 speakers. One of them is right there. You know, there's speakers on each corner, both front and back. So I use surround sound. I don't use the in-game head or the headset anyway. I tested it for your benefit so you could tell you guys what the quality was going to be like, but I don't use them. But anyway, so I hope you guys enjoy this. I hope it gives you something to think about. Yes, it's worth the money. There are different purchase options. I also believe that Pimax has put out some sort of coupon. I believe it's a $200 rebate or something like that. Like if you already own a Pimax headset, I believe you send that one in, then you'll get another $200 off. So there are ways to make the payments manageable if you decide that it's worth it for you. And if it's not worth it for you, don't do it. Absolutely 100%. I will always stand my ground on that. If you're worried about the money, if you're just on the fence, then don't go for it. Don't go for it. I would never tell someone to go for something that they're on the fence about at $1,800. Okay, if it was $500, I might say pull the trigger. Worst case scenario, you return it. But do remember that you do have the option in 14 days to return it for your full money back. Okay, and do remember that you do have the option of doing the payment plan. I think it's at $50 a month if I'm not mistaken. And it is not a subscription. There is not any interest. You simply pay until the cost of the unit has been paid off, and then it is yours and it's done. Okay? So anyways, as always, guys, stay safe and healthy. Stick around for the next one. We're going to be diving deeper into the Pimax Crystal Super. And the next one, we'll go into some settings, tips, and tricks and things I have. Also, based on multiple requests, I will be doing a video tomorrow on showing you guys how to record my VR experience. People have commented on how great my VR recordings look. I'm going to show you how I do it. And it just requires OBS and a plugin that works specifically with OpenXR. So no cropping your monitor or things like that. You get it straight from the headset. So if you're interested in that, stay tuned for that. That will be tomorrow morning or tomorrow afternoon, excuse me. So again, one last time, stay safe and healthy, guys. See you in the next one.